Welcome back to this week's training vlog. Today we have two sessions, a Saturday and a Sunday session. The first session I worked up to a heavy back squat, and then the second session I went for a heavier snatch and clean and jerk single. So big thing I've been doing lately for my overhead is sorting out my lats, and this is one of my favorite lat stretches. Just grab on something and then stretch out into the kind of corners, like pushing out through the armpit. This one then a little hang for external rotation. The lats have been something, I think probably from doing a lot of jiu-jitsu and not a lot of overhead stuff for weightlifting, has just tightened up a lot, and I just need to free them up. They are very, very tight. Obviously one side's a little more tight than the other, as you'll often see with different kind of mobility exercises and stretches. One side to the other will be a little bit tighter, so it's always good just to make sure you're paying attention to both sides. So I started off this session with some push presses. Haven't really done any push presses yet at this training block, and my jerk is usually in good condition. My push press is doing decent, so I'm just working back into these. Push presses are not super fatiguing, but they can go to shit pretty quickly if you're not paying attention to the quality of the reps. So staying pretty light with these and just going for some higher reps, literally like 70 kilos for a few sets of 5, trying to make sure I'm just dipping, driving normally, extending straight, having a good overhead position, and just getting the repetitions in. Make sure I'm using a solid rack position, a rack position that I would use for the split jerk. And then most importantly, the main thing you're always looking for in push presses is the speed of the lockout. So I'm not a huge fan of looking for incredibly heavy grindy push presses. The main thing of push presses is how fast you're locking out. That's a better indicator of how useful the push press will be for your jerk. I don't think the mega drive to kind of approximately 90-degree arm angle and then a heavy lockout is much use for your jerk. It's a fast push press is the really important thing. So then I worked up to a heavy single and I hit 210, which I actually think that is the first time over 200 kilos this year, which is something I'm reasonably happy about. It's not that heavy, but it'll do for now. I unfortunately have lost my hook grip belt. If you saw from my Instagram, I actually think someone might have stolen it in the gym, which makes no sense, because if I ever see that person, obviously I'm just going to absolutely fucking double leg them to the ground and take my leg back, or my fucking belt back. But other than that, I can't find where I would have lost it. So a little bit annoyed, and you can't get those tan hook grip belts again, and it was a great belt. But nevertheless, no point crying over spilt milk. There's 190. I have 100. I have the white belts, the white hook grip belts on the way, so that should do for now. Here's 200 even. No belt, no sleeves, no spotters, no. And here's 210 then. So pretty happy how this moved. Nice quality. Perfect. Very happy with that. That'll do for now. Here's me talking to my father about a calf that has diarrhea and what he was doing for it and what he thought I would be good for it. Unfortunately then the calf did actually die from diarrhea, which happens not more than you would think. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of remedies for calves with diarrhea. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for me to do a lot of pulls. One of the things I talked about in the last training vlog was my back is just significantly weaker than it has been previously. So it's just something I need to pay attention to. As I got so detrained, the back drastically dropped down. And it was something I didn't expect to happen. I didn't really think about it that much. But main thing for that, again, is just a lot of repetition and volume and pulls. I specifically like the lower hang pulls, or below the knee pulls, as it kind of keeps the tension on your back and allows you to practice those positions and force some tenacity into the back muscles. So hopefully they'll stay quite rigid and in good positions that I want. So you can see I did a lot of pulls for these. And so you might be thinking, why did you do a really heavy squat and a whole load of pulls and hang pulls the day before a heavy snatch, clean jerk? And the answer is because they're a bit more of a priority right now. They're not the priority, but they're definitely a little bit more of a priority than an individual session where I'm doing a heavy snatch, clean and jerk, as that's not going to be the make or break for my training right now. What's more important right now is to bring up those deficits that I need to bring up, and those are the back position and my leg strength. So I wanted to get that session in. I wanted to do that heavy single, and those pull positions were very, very important, because if you waited for every session in case you'd affect the next day session in terms of weightlifting, so if you're always like, I better not do pulls today because I'm going to affect my lifts tomorrow, you'd end up never really getting enough pulls in, and you'd have quite a few weeks gone in a training block before you'd know it. So I'm just making sure that they are a priority. So moving on to the next session, we are doing the snatch up to 120. So 120 I think is the most I've done this year. Had to go pretty balls out for it, but it got done. Main thing I was focusing on today was the active use of my arms in the third pull, so pulling myself under aggressively and pulling the barbell overhead aggressively, making sure I'm locking it out. So that's really important. As the pull under is the use of your arms if you set up the rest of the pull. So that was something I was just kind of honing in on today. So I like to do a lot of repetitions, or not just singles from the barbell up. I like to do a couple of repetitions up till about 75% or 80% of what I'm going for that day. So here's 100. Not incredibly happy with these. The 110 was decent. The snatches during the week have been a lot better. This is a little bit swingy. Second pull was short. Extension was short and leaning back a bit. So not hugely happy with that. This is the 115. Better than 115 from a few weeks ago, from 2 weekends ago, but still quite poo. So here's the miss at 120. Just shite, really. But not the fear. So came back, hit the 120. Just lengthened my second pull. Not great. You can see from my face. But that'll all be tied up. There is no fear. The main thing for me right now is not that they're exactly technically perfect, as that will come back with time. I can't force that right now. But for me, is just lifting those heavier weights and getting them on the bar and just taking them off as quickly but as reasonably as I can. So I'm just trying to get them on the bar, those 120s, and just keep moving up the weights, and the cleaning up will happen as they're quite light for me in terms of my absolute weights. So I can kind of, I suppose, cheat the system in that scenario, whereas another lifter trying to make progress wouldn't be able to do that. So moving on to the clean and jerks, then I just worked up to 130 again, which I hit 130 last Sunday, I think, as well. This one was a bit better. The jerk is cleaning up faster. I was quite fatigued on the clean, so they weren't as good as I would have liked, but overall they were decent. So I just switched up the angle a little bit to have a look at different things. And the main thing jumping out of me on these cleans is I'm pulling a little bit too much with my back and not pushing enough with my legs to get the pull going. So you can kind of see my back is really initiating the pull, and there's not a lot of leg drive initially from the ground. So I will need to work on that and be aware of it. And it's always good to see things from different angles, because you'll get a different kind of visual representation of what's going on. So I think here's 110. So what I'll just be focusing on is pushing harder from the ground. One thing I'm very happy with is the pull under in these. The timing, the minimization of the bar height, and the difference from the bar height to the bottom of the clean catch is quite small. So that's a very good indicator. So I'm quite happy with the pull under as well. And turnover felt quite strong on 120. It was a little bit slow on the 130, but that will come back with freshness and fatigue and more heavy lifts. So here's the 130. So again, you can kind of see definitely need a little bit more legs in pull in the initial pull, but the pull under is decent, and the jerk is actually quite good. So overall, it's going the way I want it to go. And then just finished off with some snatches with low hang again. So I've been completely neglecting my snatch pulls and deadlifts recently, because I've just been an asshole about it. So I need to add in a lot more of those. And stay tuned for following weeks, and hopefully this will clean up and keep heading in the right direction.